Today we're fortunate and grateful to have Mike Rewi talking to us. Mike's a former Wakatipu High School student, being born and raised in Queenstown. He studied audio and sound engineering in the States before returning back to New Zealand, where he joined Air New Zealand and was put on the Emerging Leaders Fast Track to Management course. He's since moved back to Queenstown and has set up the charitable foundation Mana Tahuna. He's helped lead a group of local volunteers to become a fully fledged organisation with the goal of improving the overall well-being and livelihood of Māori people within the Tāhuna. In doing this, he's not only had an impact on the Māori community, but the entire district, taking on the largest commercial reforestation effort in the country on Mount Dewar and enabling the reforestation of Lake Hayes wetlands, leading to a cleaner lake. Good, everyone please give a warm welcome to Michael Rewi.
Kia ora koutou katoa, tēnei te mihi atu kia koutou, ko takitimu te mauka, ko takitimu te waka, ko kaitahu me ngata kainunu, me ka te mamoi o ku iwi, ko muruku te whenua in Wakagu. No Tāhuna ahau, he kamahi ahau Mana Tahuna, no reira tēnei koutou katoa. Kia ora, thank you for that, Sam. I'm not sure you found that, but it's pretty much my whole hour, so we could probably go have breakfast now if you wanted to. But yeah, thanks for having me here. I'm grateful to, obviously know Oded, Mr. Nathan, and be invited along to speak to you guys. But this is my first time on Google Meet, but I've done a little bit of a slideshow. So if you guys actually physically at school, it might be a bit hard to see, but it doesn't matter. It's not much. It's not fancy or anything. It is. I'll talk to it anyway. So I'm just gonna pull that up for you guys now. Hopefully it'll work. And if someone can let me know that's working, it would be cool.
Yep.
Yeah, sweet. So Mana Wakatipu is just something I've thrown up there.
Hold on, Mike. Sorry, it's not there.
It's not there?
Hold on one moment. Just need to unpin you.
Yeah, classic. Not me.
There we go. We got you.
That was my whole high school career, guys. It wasn't me. It was Mr. Nathan. So you guys can use that as you please. Cool. So Mana Wakatipu just essentially means creating, the way I've used it, creating leadership. So Wakatipu is to grow. Mana is can mean power, can mean leaders, it can mean leadership, and yeah. Ko wai aho. So who am I? So as I've just said in my PPR, I'm Michael Rewi. I was actually born in Wakagu. I don't say that too often, but I was born down in Wakagu, but I was raised in Queenstown, up in Tāhuna. I went to Queenstown Primary School, went to Wakatipu High School. I started in 2004 as a year 7 back then in town. I graduated in 2010. So I'm here to talk to you guys today about leadership. So I guess I can start with my upbringing and where I first started seeing some key points of leadership. That's my marae down in Wakagu. That's Te Raka Tauniki, the wharanui down there. And that's probably that's the main marae down there. I don't like saying that because unless there's other runanga listening. But yeah, that's one of the biggest maraes down there. That's my one. And so, I was fortunate it's 2 hours away. We obviously don't have one in Queenstown, but I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of my childhood down there, so holidays and everything. And that's where I first started, I guess, seeing the leaders within my community. So maraes are based on leadership. So there's upuku, there's heads of them, and it's done in a very Te Ao Māori way of respect, tikanga, kawa, and there's a lot of rules and stuff that you follow. But one of them is definitely respect for leadership, for your kaumātua. And I guess that's where you learn to not only be a leader, but also be not a follower, but part of a big team. It's a very teamwork orientated kaupapa marae. Back up in Tāhuna, Wakatipu High School. Yeah, I was there until 2010. I graduated. I captained the basketball team. I gave Mr. Nathan 1 billion points a game. I like to say that. It's fairly true, fairly accurate. Yeah, and then so as Sam's pretty much said, my whole life story. I graduated, spent a couple of years in San Francisco. I came back to New Zealand with the intent of going back to San Francisco, and I worked at my high school job was in New Zealand, so loading bags. I went back there and kind of fell into leadership roles. And I say fell into leadership roles by when I look back in it and think how did I actually start doing that? It was never my intent. I think it was always standing up for what was right, which is one of the values I'll kind of go into as I work through this presentation. So yeah, that's a bit about me, where I started seeing some leadership. Yeah. And so this is kind of just here to prime you guys on what is a leader to you guys. So who is a leader, by who made them a leader, and for who. So who are they leading? Who is in the team? Were they chosen to be a leader? Were they made to be a leader? Did they have to stand up to be a leader? They're all common examples of what a leader is. These slides are what a leader is for me, and you'll see there's a lot of a Te Ao Māori perspective on it. Obviously for what I do in my mahi, but also my upbringing. Not so much in Tāhuna. There wasn't a lot of Māori in Queenstown, but down in Invercargill, where I was fortunate. And these little whakataukis, which are proverbs that I've put in a couple here. You can search them. You can feel free to use them. But here's he maramatanga to tēnei whetū, he maramatanga to tera whetū, and that just means every star has its own luminescence. Anyone can be a leader. We all have our own shine. So yeah, so as I go through these slides, I just kind of want you guys to prime you guys on what a leader is for you. Who are you seeing every day that's a leader? Is it a teacher? Is it your parents? Is it someone at a job if you're already working? So who's that leader? What are they doing? What makes them a good leader? What makes them a bad leader? And for who and by who, which is a big one, because a lot of leaders are not chosen by their team. If you're in a corporate world, they are chosen by someone higher up above. And then so that's when a leader is really tested, because you're not chosen by your team, you're actually chosen by someone high above, and you've actually got to earn that team's respect. So this is one of my favorite sayings now, and I learned it about 3 months ago when a mentor of mine, I had a chat to him about a few things that weren't going right. But it's about values, and so you always write your values in pen, but your strategies in pencil. And so what that means is first of all, you got to find your values. So what are your values? Why are they your values? So what is your why? And I guess if you're struggling to find your values, then think of it as, what do you want to be known for? When people are talking about you at the dinner table, when they're talking behind your back, when they're discussing what you've achieved, what do you want to be known for? And it's all good at your guys' age to not know what your values are, because you're kind of finding yourself. But once you find your values, you must write them in pen, and they must not change, but they shouldn't change. They should be what you stand for. They should be why you do what you do. And then so they must be written in pen permanently, and your strategies can be pencil. I always knew I wanted to do good for the community, for the Māori community in Queenstown, because it was ill represented. But my strategies on how I did it, definitely not how I thought it was going to be. And what happened, obviously, COVID threw curveballs at everybody, but that was definitely a pencil and strategy I rubbed out and then created a new one. And I've put down there my values. And so these are quite common leadership values in Te Ao Māori. And I'll go in the next slides through what they all are and what they mean to me. And I've just put another whakatauki there. Te amorangi ki mua, te hapai o ki muri. And that just means the leader at the front and the workers behind the scenes. And they can be perceived however you want, but it's actually a whakatauki around the setting at the marae. So the leader on the pai talking, and the team behind the scenes actually making a pōwhiri or, the marae run. And so I perceive that as a leader at the front is nothing without his team behind him. So that's why I've put that one there. Whakaiti should be Manaakitanga as well. So they are in no particular order, but I will say that this one to me is my most important one. So whakapapa. So that's your lineage, your ancestry, where you're from, who you are, your makeup, your character. This is everything. And so growing up in Queenstown, there was no way to learn your whakapapa. Being Ngāi Tahu, I was a bit more fortunate than most because it was close. It's in Invercargill. But this is one I think is neglected a bit, and a lot of people don't think of their whakapapa, their ancestors, and who came before them. Because again, if you're struggling to find who you are, you just got to look back 2, 3, 4 generations, and you'll find someone that sticks out, and you'll start seeing yourself in them. You'll start seeing, oh, actually, you know, I can be a leader. I can do this task. I can do really whatever I put my mind to. So I put that there. Your tupuna hold you up, and you carry them forward. Your tupuna, your ancestors worked, you know, their butts off, whether it was Maori here, whether it was ancestors coming here by waka, by ships, by boats. They worked their butt off back in the day, back in their centuries or whatnot, for you to be here right now. And so what can you take from them, and what can you learn from them? I'll tell you right now, everyone in this room has resilience, because no one came to Aotearoa without resilience centuries ago. Or wherever you're from, and if you've just come recently, I guarantee resilience is in your tupuna. And like I just said, how do they mold you, and what can you see from them in yourself? And so I was quite fortunate being Ngāi Tahu that they do a lot of whakapapa wānanga. And I was lucky enough 2 months ago to start in Wellington, and we did a hikoi all the way through the hikinga, which is the migration of Ngāi Tahu. And we stopped at pā sites, marae, and that was really to take Ngāi Tahu leaders on a hikoi about their whakapapa. And that's why it's so important for Ngāi Tahu anyway, that they ensure that those opportunities are there for leaders in the iwi. And so I'm just going to stop there a little bit, and I'll try and share again for you guys at home at school. It will be a little bit hard to see, but for you guys at home, it will be a bit better. And so here I have. Can you guys see that all good?
Yeah, pop up and see, Mike. Yeah.
Sweet. So here, right here, again, sorry for you guys at school, it's probably small enough anyway for everybody on the screen. But here's my whakapapa, my whole Māori whakapapa. So if I zoom in, it goes all the way back to the creation story, Toi, who came from Hawaii. And I've highlighted a few here, and these are all in my direct lineage, my direct descendants. So this one highlighted here is Tahu Pōtiki. So Tahu Pōtiki is the founding name of Ngāi Tahu. So he was based up around Gisborne, around the coast, and he migrated down initially to Hawke's Bay. Then his people migrated down to Wellington. We spent a few generations here, which is all these whānau, and then we made the jump over to Te Waipounamu in the South Island. So I think this is pretty cool to be able to say I can go all the way back here. But when I look back at mine and I'm looking for things, highlighted ones are the ones that I look for. So I'm feeling a bit lost, I always go back to my whakapapa. And so this fellow here, this one, you get a kick out of this, Mr. Nathan, is Tuahuriri. So Tuahuriri was a chief in the Wellington area, and he was one of the first ones to come over to Te Waipounamu. So in Wellington, he got in a few scraps, got in a few fights, and he decided we need to get out of here and come down to the South Island. Now, why I see what I see in him is because I'm a fairly confident and outgoing guy. Some will call me cocky, Mr. Nathan, and so he calls me Mike the Mouth on the basketball court, and I get it from this guy here. So Tuahuriri, he was a great chief in Wellington, but he was too good for his he knew too much for his own good. And so when he crossed Te Waipounamu, he had a single held waka. Everybody advised him to get a double held waka. He said, nah, I'm all good. I'm single, I'm Tuahuriri, or single held waka. And so he actually drowned in the Cook Strait coming over here. So yeah, I get my outgoingness from him, I guess. Don't know if that's a good thing. Hopefully I'll just stay away from walkers. Now here's one that I'm really passionate about, is Turamakahu. So Turamakahu was a Kati Mamoi chief. And so Kati Mamoi was here before Ngāi Tahu, and they kind of intermarried to stop fighting, which he was a part of, to stop bloodshed. And so Turamakahu is a great fighting chief from Kati Mamui. And he's real well known for winning a lot of his battles outnumbered. And the way he did that was standing up for his people, and instead of fighting war as two teams, he called out the other chief and he said, me and you fight. We don't need these people to die. Me and you fight. The winner wins the war. And so why I like Tutamakahu is because he was based just south of Kingston. And so that's my connection into Tāhuna, Queenstown. And it's also in my world and the realm that I work in, I can stand up and say, actually, I can do what I do here because of him, because that's my connection into this place. The last one I'll show you is, well, last two actually. There's a little on me down the bottom, but Whare Tutu. So not too long ago, in the mid 1800s, is Whare Tutu, and she was a very how do you say, it's International Women's Day, so she is a old kaumātua of ours. But when the treaty was signed in the 1800s, Ngāi Tahu had a blue book. So the Crown said you had to be on this blue book to be, I guess, for the treaty to have significance to you as a Māori. And so Whare Tutu is my tupuna. She's from Rakiura, which is Short Island, and I guess she was like the chiefess there. And so to this day, we still have Māori land down in Short Island. And Whare Tutu married a whaler, George Newton. And then we became Newtons. And we came down here, and George Teo. And that's my great-grandfather. And so George Teo, you can Google him. He was a kaumātua in Murihuku. He was the signee of the claim to the treaty on behalf of all Murihuku runanga in Marae. So he signed that on behalf of all the people of Southland, all the Māori in Southland, the claim in the 90s. And he worked very close with Tātipini O'Regan, who's the head of Ngāi Tahu now. So he passed away when I was a young guy, but that's my whakapapa. And so that's what I mean by when you go back. Well, he was real well known for his humility and his ability to get people to come together, I guess. I'm going to go share the presentation again and come back to that. Just give it a second. Sweet. And so that's what I mean by whakapapa and being able to go back. You know, I'm lucky I can go right back to the creation story, and I'm lucky I have the resources now to actually go up to people, go to cool people and be like, who was this guy? What were they known for? What's their story? And then weaving that into my how I see myself, how I hold myself, because you owe it to your ancestors to hold yourself the way they thought you would when they made all their sacrifices to get you to where you are now. And so that's a real big thing. If anything, any values you take away from today, go learn your whakapapa, go learn where you're from. Who are those leaders? Who are the leaders within your ancestry? Because you are them. You've already got them. So don't look for values. You've already got them within your family tree. Whanaungatanga. Or whakawhanaungatanga. So kia hono is be connected. And so that's what a lot of people say is kia hono, be connected. What that means is relationships. Whanaungatanga it literally means creating meaningful relationships. Whakawhanaungatanga. Or Ngāi Tahu, whakawhanaukataka. We use K's instead of NGs. And so a big value for this and what I do every day is every relationship's meaningful. And for you guys as school leaders, you really need to start thinking about who are you leading? Have you got relationships with every person you're leading? Are you connected with the people and what they want? So if you're a house leader or a year leader, how do you know that they know you're listening? What are you doing day to day? What are you doing week to week, month to month? That they know that they're being heard and you're listening. You got to think about the year nines. You know, school's a tough place for a lot of people. You know, is that young year nine in your group being heard? What do they want? Are you actually leading or being their voice when you're operating in what you do? So in my mahi, I try as best as I can to represent the Māori community in my work. And so the only way I can do that is whanaungatanga and relationships. Otherwise, everyone's going to be like, who are you? Who are you to talk on my behalf? Who are you to create this? We never said we wanted a youth program, you know? So if you're not listening, you're not leading. And you got to connect, and you got to connect with everybody in your team and help every voice be heard. Whanaungatanga. Usually would start this with whanaungatanga, and everybody would introduce themselves. It's a tikanga Māori thing we do, and that's literally for that reason. It's so everyone knows everyone, their story. When you do your pepeha, it's a bit more than just saying where you're from. It's making connections. So if you heard my pepeha, I'm Ngāi Tahu, obviously, but I'm also Ngāti Kānunu. So if you heard that, and you're Ngāti Kānunu, you know, snap, we're both from up there, we've just connected. You know, so whanaungatanga is a big one. So connect, listen to your people, and let them know you're listening to. You know, it can be tedious, but everybody has a voice and everybody deserves to be heard. Whakaiti and manakitanga. So manakitanga is just caring, I guess. It's how we do things in Te Ao Māori. It's manakitanga, is wrap around, care, support. Everybody's welcome. It's a bit of humility in that whakaiti. So bit of humbleness. And when you're a leader, you know, a lot of times in Māoridom, leaders aren't chosen. They kind of stand up. Well, and they stand up, and then they have support. They have the tautoko. But every leader in Te Ao Māori has manakitanga. If you don't have manakitanga, you will not be a leader in Te Ao Māori. I can tell you that right now. And so that's just caring for one another. Hospitality, I guess, is the Pākehā word for it. So just caring for everybody. Everybody's interest is at the table and heard. They all relate to each other. Kotahitanga. So this relates back to the listening. So the whanaungatanga. Kotahitanga is unity. It's one team. And so this is all leadership. All leadership's kotahitanga. So without kotahitanga, who are you leading? What team are you leading? And I've got the whakatauki there. Naku te raurau no, te raurau ka, ora ai, te iwi. With your basket and my basket, the people will live. So that just means without both our baskets, with both our mahi, we will be sustained. We will have sustainability. And this is important, like I said again, and definitely within my realm and what I do, is engaging with your team. You know, whether it's team meetings, whether it's team catch-ups, whether it's an email or a text message, letting everybody know what we're up to, what the plans are, what we're doing. So I try and represent the Māori community net. So what we do is engagements. So we have, you know, Facebook pages. We have, I have little newsletters that go out. We're about to start getting into community hui. I've got one this morning after this. And that's just Kotahitanga, unity. So I have a meeting today with all kind of Māori trusts in the area. And it's more about not let's get out of each other's way, but how can we be one and benefit everybody in the community? There can never be enough trusts. So let's work as a team to get the best outcome for our people. And so Kotahitanga is a big one. So I in my career in New Zealand, I learned real quickly Kotahitanga is the only way to get it through. I had about 80 staff that reported to me. I was fortunate to have some good team leaders below me, but unity was a big one. So a very diverse crew, and the only way we could come together was real Te Ao Māori perspective was kai. And we came in every week, we learned someone's culture, we learned their food, brought a bit of unity to our team. Legacy. So that's my values. And then now I just want to go back to that legacy. And so, like I said, you guys are all young. You guys have plenty of time. You don't have to know your values right now, but you should start to think, what is your legacy and what do you want to be known for? So talk about your tupuna, the settlers that came here, whoever in your whānau, but then also think, what will your descendants say about you in 100 years, 200 years? where 300 years, when in those days, the whakapapa, they'll probably be able to scan a code or something, and it'll probably be able to come up with you and your picture and a little bio about what you did. What do you want that to say? So what do you want in 100 years your descendants to be able to flick on their VR goggles and they walk your walk? What are they walking? What are they talking? And that's, I guess, what I learned that in Te Ao Māori. So that's a good whakaaro that came through to me, sitting in the wharenui in Nelson. And we looked up, obviously, all the po and all the dao tupuna in the wharenui about, and talking about what they did. And it hit me, you know, like, if we're talking about them and they were 200 years ago, 100 years ago, that's definitely going to happen down the line. And so we sat there for a good night, talked about what are people going to be talking about us in 100 years and 200 years, and what do you want to be known for? And so I guess for me, that's not what I had in mind when I started Mana Tahuna, but I guess it's turned into that a little bit. And so Mana Tahuna was created out of the need for the community. And that's another way you can find your values. If you're listening to your team, if you're listening to your people, you'll hear a need. You'll hear, you know, what they're needing, whether it's a new toilet, whether it's a better basketball court, whether it's free lunch. You know, there's a need out there. You've just got to be listening for it. And then you've got to be the one to make a stand and stand up for it, for everybody. And so Mana Tahuna was started purely out of the fact that I was, I guess, fortunate enough to be on a couple of panels that was saying yes or no to funding coming into the area in Queenstown. And I saw a lot of funding coming out for international organizations, Pākehā community organizations, the council. And I just asked the question, you know, where's the funding for the Māori organizations here, or the Māori people? You know, there is 2,000 of us here. I know there's about 120 of you guys at that school. Where's the funding for that? Where's the funding for the Māori youth? Where's the funding for the Māori people? Where's the health and social services for Māori? Because it's, you know, it's a well-known fact. Normal institutions don't work for us. And literally what I got back from government was there is none. So if you want the funding, create something down there. And so me and my father, who's the chair, a couple other kaumātua, created Mana Tahuna, wrote the deed, sent it away, and applied for funding. And that's what we do. And that's what I continue to do is, I guess, lobby for the Māori people here and try to create opportunities. So youth programs. So there is no youth programs here specifically for Māori. So what am I doing about that? You know, you guys hold me to account as well. What am I doing about that? So, you know, I go and lobby for funding, and we'll have a youth program. It'll be right next to the kuta as well, and it'll be open for people. You want to learn about Māori, you can come in, because that's part of what we do as well. If you're a Māori rangatahi and you need a bit of support, we'll be there. Re-employment, jobs, you know, benefits, government benefits. What are we doing to help Māori people do that? So we've got contracts with MSD, we've got contracts with the government now, and we're just starting to flesh that out and get that going. And re-employment, we have the second biggest environmental project in the South Island going in Lake Hayes, with the second most money given out by the government. We got $4.5 million last September for it. That's Lake Hayes. So we're cleaning up Lake Hayes. Mana Tahuna is doing that, so you guys can swim in it again. And that might be my legacy. 100 years from now, hopefully you can swim in the lake because I've done a good job. If not, they'll be talking about me the other way. He's the guy that wasted $4.5 million of our money and we still can't swim in that lake. So yeah, so I guess that's not why I did it, but I guess that's kind of the legacy that I'm molding into and creating now. Now, I think the next slide's a video that they've done for me by the council. And a bit of that, you know, Wakatipu, their humility. Don't laugh at me, but the council did it as a young leader coming into Mana Tahuna, into the community. But what is cool on it is you can see a lot. They did some cool drone shots, so you can see a little bit of what we do up Mount Jua, down in Lake Hayes. Yeah.
Kia ora koutou katoa, ko Mako Rewi tuku ingoa, hei kaimahi ahau, mai i te ropu Mana Tahuna. My name is Mako Rewi, and I'm from Mana Tahuna. have recently moved back from Auckland. A couple of reasons I came back to Queenstown. Obviously born and raised there, have a lot of whānau here, a lot of friends, organic networks here that I still, remain in contact with when I was in Auckland. Being able to connect with the community here, it's quite a close-knit community, whereas I was kind of missing that element of my life that I was used to connecting into up in Auckland. And so my lifestyle's changed completely. There's mountains here, you can go and chill out if you need to, de-stress. For me, my friends and family were here, but I guess that close-knit community feel wasn't there for me in Auckland, and I've definitely found that down here again. I play for Wakatipu Rugby Club, best club in the area down here. So played for them previously in Auckland, and coming back down, with those group of guys, I slipped straight back into that squad and that environment, and it's a community environment again, and it's a close-knit network of people that have been actually really supportive of our kaupapa and what we're trying to do. And it's those kind of organic networks that you can build down here that you can lean on when you're building stuff from the ground up. We've always had a small Māori community in Queenstown, and due to COVID and the needs for that community, we were really encouraged by some kaumātua, some of our rangatira and leaders to our community to stand that up as a charitable trust so we can get the support for our community that we need. It started off with a food bank, and then organically from that it kind of progressed into what more needs, whether for the whānau, for the community, and what projects can we stand up that can create those opportunities for us. At Mana Tahuna, our three core po are employment, re-employment, reskilling, upskilling for whānau that have been affected by COVID. The health and social services for whānau that have been affected by COVID, and then also the need that we found in our community for the youth and the rangatahi programs, that their health and her water as well. Te Waikato or Lake Hayes is a project that came about for us. As Māori here, we have a strong connection to the whenua, and I think the whole community has a connection to Lake Hayes, Te Waikato, and so the rehabilitation of Lake Hayes is a good opportunity for us to finally help Friends of Lake Hayes achieve their goal and their mission of rehabilitating that lake and the whole catchment, and for us as well, rehabilitating our whenua, but also providing some really good and strong employment opportunities for our community. The team itself that runs Mana Tahuna, Jana Davis, our Chief Operating Officer, and Jordan Tuhura, our Chief Development Officer, and they're really some key cogs to really make this trust go, along with our board. My father's our chair, and does a lot of community work here as well, and my mother actually is a registered nurse that does our health and social services. So it's been a real whānau, for whānau, by whānau kind of kaupapa that we try and run here.
Sweet. So you'll see I wasn't doing any planting there, just a lot of talking. So yeah, that's my presentation. That's a little bit of my leadership values that I hold with me every day when I walk around here. That's a lot, and it'll make a lot of sense to someone that knows me like Mr. Nathan about that. And so I guess the two things I'll leave you with before we do some Q&A, if there is any, is that quote I said, which is a Pākehā quote, but it's one I think about every day, is write your values in pen and your strategies to get them in pencil. Because like I said, you guys are young, your strategies are going to change. That's a given. But your values and what you hold close to you you should start thinking about them and writing them down permanently. And I mean that physically too. Write them down permanently. Write them in your book, write them on your wall, think about them every day, and start believing in them and doing them. And then also learn about your whakapapa, because I think that's an undervalued trait, is knowing who you are, literally, and people who came before you, what they were known for, and what they stood for, and stand for those causes as well. No reira, tēnā koutou, tēnei te mihi atu kia koutou. Yeah, kia ora. That's me. I'll hand it back over to Mr. Nathan. And any questions, feel free. I told you it wouldn't be an hour. You guys can go run and get some breakfast or something.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. We will throw to the floor for some questions before we do thank you more properly. So who wants to kick us off? Don't be shy. Go for it, Jet.
Hi, I'm Jet. I was just wondering if you have any of your values that really stick out to you, or key values that you treasure more than any of the other ones.
I guess in Queenstown Tāhuna, and Mātua Gilbertson can attest to this, is probably Kotahitanga. So in a lot of city centres or something, there's a lot of people already unified because they're the same iwi. So in Queenstown, there's multiple iwi, multiple different tikanga, multiple different sets of people from different walks of life. And so to find unity and people that all get along is hard. But in a place like this, it's necessary. And you'll find that everywhere it's necessary. And for me, like I said, who am I to say I'm a leader of people without Kotahitanga, without unity? I can't represent people if they're sitting there at their dinner tables going, who the heck's Mike Rewi to go to government on our behalf, you know? So definitely Kotahitanga sticks out, and definitely for my mahi that I do every day and the environment we're in down here. So yeah, unity.
Sweet, thank you.
Yeah, kia ora, Mike, I'll go. Michael, give you a break. First of all, how did you get so fast and how did you get so good on the basketball court? Before I ask my more serious one, is there a secret to your training or?
Hill sprints and a slow teacher defending me.
Okay, well, hey, my question is, especially for some of our Māori Pacifica rangatahi, like a lot of them are disconnected from their whenua, so, you know, their land, from their whakapapa a little bit, you know, from their people around them. You know, so I guess and their whānau too in many cases. So I guess my question is like, you know, as leaders and things like that, how do we kind of support those people that are a bit disconnected kind of from where they're from and the people that they're around? Like, have you got kind of any tips in that space?
Good question, Matua. I mean, and it's not as simple as that, eh? And so what we can do is just, I guess, be the links into their whakapapa as leaders. So if someone comes to me and said they want to learn more about their Ngāpui whakapapa, which is up Northland, I can only be a connection. So try connect and that, you know, Whanaungatanga, that relationship building. So build that relationship with the person, build that, and then try build that relationship with the people up north or wherever that is. It's as good as research, to be honest. There's resources out there, a lot of resources out there. And so I guess for me, it would just be helping them create those relationships they need. If you don't know, help them create that relationship with someone that does know. Yeah, so especially for us in the Māori Pacifica realm, a lot of people too are a bit sensitive with information and IP, and they really want you to come home to learn it. So I'm fortunate I go to Invercargill to learn it, or go to Christchurch. But a lot of people just have to make that hikoi home and stand on their whenua and listen to their rangatira that are there. So yeah, it's a bit hard, but Mana Tahuna has something coming for you guys. So stay posted.
I fell by he passed to second one then I'll show up. I was going to say, a lot of these guys all kind of, you know, get into their mahi and stuff like that after they leave kura and kind of, and lots of their work and things like that, or lots of their leadership roles that they might take to kind of engage and work with iwi and whānau Māori and all that kind of thing, and Māori people in general. I mean, you and I probably navigate that pretty well coming from that space. But have you got any tips for people kind of going into that in the future? You know, what are some whānau ways to work with kind of whenua and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we do it ourselves still, you know, so it's about knowledge, I guess, tikanga. And so when you're dealing with a Māori entity, an iwi specifically, you got to understand the tikanga, and what is that? That's listening. So do a bit of listening, do a bit of, you've got to see things from a Māori perspective when you're dealing with Māori people. If you're not, you're going to be bashing your head against the wall, and you've got to listen to them. So I still do it when I go to other iwi, when I go to other runanga. I play a politician for 40% of my time, and how I only do that through tikanga, so their tikanga, so it's their rules when I'm with them and I'm talking to them, and I listen to them. And if you're not listening in the Māori world, you're not talking either. You're not being heard. So you definitely have to see it from their point of view. Definitely see it from a Māori perspective and understand some stuff that Māori went through, some intergenerational stuff, some stuff about whenua, The Treaty of Waitangi is a good place to start. Down here, the Clan Tikirimi is a good place to start. Just do some research so you understand. And Matua Gilby's right. It's going to be quite prominent in the future. In corporate worlds, whether it's development, whether that's government jobs, whether that's banks, any kind of corporate world, you're going to have to deal with Māori now, and you're going to have a pretty good knowledge of tikanga on how they operate. So you're in a good place. You've got Matua Gilby there. Use them. You're going to have us with a little hub set up soon. Use us. But yeah, just learn. Ask questions. You can never ask a stupid question because it keeps you safe. And that's the biggest thing when you're dealing with Māori, is staying safe. So I mean that as in culturally. So, yep.
Wait, what?
Kia ora.
I'm Julia. I'm just wondering when you'll have that hub set up and what your major goals are with that hub.
Cool. So, yeah, we haven't actually announced it yet. I haven't actually signed the lease, but we are expecting to have a hub over by the MSD offices. So the Toru apartments, there is a couple offices at the bottom of that. And so it's going to be pretty close to you guys. What the intent there is to have a place close to the kura that we can connect, that Whanaungatanga, connect with you guys. Because like I said, try to represent the whole Māori community. And I'm not doing my job because you guys probably have never met me, the Māoris in the room. And so I'm not doing my job well enough. And so how can I engage with you guys is get closer to you guys and create a hub. So that's the intent of it. Have a place you guys can drop in. Anybody can drop in and learn Māori. Learn, ask those questions, support your guys, support your reo, support your cultural stuff at the school, support people like Matua Gilby. And then also, and when I talk about what am I standing for, is there's a lot of stats around Māori and Pacifica and access to, I guess, technology, access to different career paths. And so I guess another intent with that hub is to be a bit of a digital hub and create some career pathways for Māori, whether it's into art, whether it's into the digital world, coding, whatever. We'll run some wānanga from there and try and curve that stat of Māori and Pacifica that goes straight into the labour force. So, yeah, that's the intent there, and that's where we'll be. And hopefully by mid-April, it'll be up and running.
Mike, I got a question here. It's Oded. In 2020, before Mana Tahuna, before you started Mana Tahuna, you always had confidence, as you indicated, but as a 25-year-old kind of starting up this Mana Tahuna Trust, that's a pretty big leap of, pretty big jump. You must have felt a little bit vulnerable, a little bit scared, a little bit kind of nervous about doing that. Can you tell us a little bit about, you were obviously standing up for what you believe, but how did you kind of overcome that to actually take that sort of leap of faith to take on such a big project in the community at such a young age?
100% would be the team around me and also the team above me. So my leaders gave me the confidence to do it. They didn't want to do it or were capable to do it, but they, I guess, gave me the confidence to say I could do it. And you're right, I was very vulnerable. I still am every day within the Te Ao Māori world because I'm not fluent. I don't know 100% all the tikanga. And so there's a lot of places where I become unsafe because I don't know that. And, a lot of times in my mahi, people still talk down to me because of that. And it's just about staying strong, but it's actually more about the team that's with you, I might be down and out, go back to the offices, and you just get your team lifts you up and lifts you forward and pushes you on. And so I definitely wouldn't have been able to do it if I didn't have a solid team with me. And stuff like that. So a good solid board and a good solid foundation team. And just gave me the confidence that we'd be able to do it, the confidence that I could stand there and talk to issues here. And I actually use it as a benefit if I don't know full Te Reo Māori, if I don't know all the tikanga. It's because it's not here in Queenstown, and that's why we need it. And that's why the government should fund it. And so I use that every day in my arguments. And that's I guess gave me the confidence. to do that and to start that was the team I had at the start, and knowing that we're all on the same waka, we all got that Kotahitanga, and we're just trying to do right. So yeah.
Questions? I got another one then. You know, you're speaking to a kind of a room full of 16 and 17-year-olds. You know, if you were to kind of, you've shared your values, which were wonderful, and some really inspirational and kind of key points of wisdom. If you were to kind of talk to yourself when you were 17 years old, you know, if you were to go back, what, 11, 12 years ago, and tell yourself kind of one or two things about kind of leadership or something that you should do or take away, what would you say to yourself? What would you say to these young folks? Apart from what you already said, or maybe.
I'll tell you guys a story. It'll be do your stats exams, because I drew a car in my exam once instead of doing the test, and Mr. Nathan showed up at my house at dinner time that night and marked it in front of my parents, and it wasn't a good time for me. So do your tests, do your exams. But on a serious note, it would definitely be find your good examples of leaders now. I was fortunate, I guess. I had some good leaders around me, and I was surrounded by some good leaders within my whānau, within, you know, my grandparents, school. Your teachers are your leaders. So find good leaders. You guys will know right now who a good teacher and who a bad teacher is in your perspective. So start thinking about what makes them good, and then start trying to develop those traits within yourself if you don't already have them. So surround yourself with good leaders, good people, and start having those traits. Another one, and I can't stress this enough, and I talk about this in the corporate world or any world, is get mentors. Get someone, whether it's in the community that you don't know. A good leader will always take you under their wing, always. So if you want a mentor that can teach you some stuff, good leadership, create that relationships, use that as a platform to other relationships, other connections, other opportunities, is get a mentor, get 2 mentors. I have about 5 mentors, and I still call them to this day. I've made one connection with a guy about 6 years ago, and with no intent in it, and he's now the chief executive of the Department of Justice in Wellington. I fly out tomorrow to have lunch with him, you know. So that Whanaungatanga, you never know where that relationship's going to lead you. He's now the head of a whole ministry, which will create opportunities for Mana Tahuna. And so get mentors, whether it's a teacher, whether it's someone in the community you know, whether it's a business person, someone you aspire to be like, and just ask them for a coffee or to hang out once a month. I do it all the time, and I can't stress that enough, is find mentors. Because when you're going through tough times as well in life, not even just leadership, you're vulnerable. They act as therapists, you know. So yeah, get a mentor, look at your good leaders. A good place to start your teachers. Good teachers, bad teachers. What are the good ones doing? What are the bad ones maybe not doing enough of? You know, so what's Mātua Gilby doing? He's good. What's Mr. Nathan doing? Yeah.
Sophie, just on behalf of everyone here and everyone at home, a big thank you for coming up and giving your time to speak to us about your leadership values and just your experience as a whole. I know I definitely have quite a few notes, especially all of the whakatokis, and the 2 messages of writing your values down and learning from your whakapapa, and also all about Whanaungatanga and making those connections and relationships. So I hope everyone takes a lot from this and applies it to their roles. I know I definitely will. So just give another big thank you.
No, yeah, cheers. Thanks for that. Thanks for having me, guys, on your Thursday morning. Yeah, stay tuned, and you'll definitely start seeing me around a bit more as we create that whanaungatanga with you guys. So, kia ora.
Kia ora, Mike. Thank you very much.
See you tonight, Mr. Nathan. I'm going to give you 30 on the basketball court.
Looking forward to it.
All right,
Take care.